Now, what I want to look at, first of all, is the media. When people say the media is the problem, they're right about most things. If you look, all of the research that we have indicates that media violence has increased in quantity, but it's also more graphic, more sexual, and more sadistic. This is the khutawat al-shaitan. If you watch films from the 1940s, the 1930s, the 1950s, you can see it's slow. This is how shaitan gets people. يَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ. He pulls them step by step. These are his khutawat. You start watching films, they introduce violence. In my country, one of the landmark films was a film called Bonnie and Clyde with, what's his name? See, people know, Warren Beatty. Yeah. There's a hadith that in the end of time, the shayateen will take forms and they'll tell you fictional stories and you'll say, I can see his face, but I don't know his name. It's in Sahih al-Bukhari. And there's a website of actors. The website is called, You Know Their Faces But Can't Remember Their Names. That's a hadith. It's amazing. Sadaqa Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that film was a major change in America in cinematography. Because before that, graphic violence was not permitted. But this film showed blood, gore. Now that film looks tame compared to what they have out. These are the khutawat of shaitan. And shaitan wants violence and sex are his two, these are, because they're very powerful for the human psyche. And these are the two ways that he can really corrupt the heart. This is from the United States, so I'm using statistics from the US, but it's all coming to you, unfortunately. So 80% of R-rated movies, right? 70% of restricted video games, and 100% of music with explicit content, warning labels, were being marketed to children under 17. So they know what they're doing. These are the minions of shaitan. Whether they're conscious of it or not. وَلَكِنَّهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They're unconscious. If you say, لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. We believe in freedom of speech. We believe in artistic expression. We're not sowing corruption. No, they're the corruptors. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ. But they're unaware. So many of them are literally minions. By the time the average child in the United States is 18 years old, they will have seen 200,000 acts of violence and 16,000 murders. What do you think this is doing to the psyche? Why do you think America is such a violent country? Seriously, there are other reasons. This is one of the reasons. We have a history of violence in the United States. But our children have been programmed to be violent. Media violence is especially damaging to young children under 8 because they cannot easily tell the difference between real life and fantasy. The American Pediatric Association warns that children should not see any television now. This is a protocol from a few years back. They shouldn't see any television before the age of 3 because of the effects they know that it has. That was actually a compromise because the evidence shows that they really shouldn't be seeing any television while their brains are developing. But these are compromises because the television industry is so powerful. And if you don't think industry has an effect on medicine, just look at the food pyramid. Because the food pyramid in the United States was changed because of the dairy and meat lobbies. Because they warned people about dairy and meat. So they got it changed. So industry, medicine is in service of industry. It's not medicine in service of humanity. It serves industry. They know Scientific America proved that television is a low-grade addiction. People become addicted to television. It's like tea. I always say, what's the problem with tea? I don't feel addicted. I've given it up so many times. Right? So those low-grade addictions are real. Tea is a low-grade addiction, but as an inveterate tea drinker, I can tell you, it is very hard to give up tea. I was corrupted by the English because I lived in England, and every day they would have tea. I started having tea. Before I knew it, I go back to America where they don't drink tea, they drink coffee, but I wanted tea. Right? I have Irish roots. The English, you know about the English. Malaysia knows. You know, they say monkeys know how to speak orangutan. They say that they can speak. Like the orangutan, they speak Malay in the jungle, but they knew that if they spoke, the English would put them to work. So they just pretend not to. So, TV and film. You have so much children's violence. This is a cartoon for children. You know, this is traumatic for kids. Trust me. I have a person I know who was a child psychiatrist, and he told me he had so many children that had Disney film trauma. Every single Disney film has a dead mother or a mother who dies in the film. Why do they do that? It's traumatic. They know what they're doing. Disney is an evil empire. And this is not a joke. Disney is an evil empire. And why does Disney spread this global message out to turn little girls into princesses? We don't want, all you need is one princess in a country. Or maybe, okay, you have 9 sultanates, so you have to have more. But you don't want a lot of princesses in a country. You want women that will serve, that will work, that will do things. They don't expect everybody to do it for them. And I know the sultanas here serve and do things. That's true. But the Disney princess is served. And all the children are little warriors. So they have this violent attitude in their film. I mean, look at this. You know, it's just unbelievable. Do I have sound? I put it up. Where's the sound? Okay,
hello, Earth. So good to see you. Seeing me. We know you find TV irresistible. And Hulu. Yeah. Now follow me. Below the curtain. To the Hulubratory, where we make the irresistible irresistibler.
They killed Kenny!
You are correct, sir. And our latest silver bullet, Hulu Plus. Full seasons and full series runs of your favorite shows in your new favorite place. Everywhere. You see, this is your brain on TV. This is your brain on Hulu. So close. And this is your brain on Hulu Plus. And this is your brain with a little sprig of mint. Hulu Plus.
That's hot.
An eviler plot to destroy the world. Enjoy.
You know, people think that's a joke. Trust me, that is no joke. That's Iblis. I mean, the thing about Iblis, he has fun. He really enjoys this show. He enjoys making fun of us, just laughing at us. What are you going to do, give up TV? That's what he says in one of those ads. It's not a joke. 2 out of 3 Hollywood films released in 2001 were rated R. And I'll tell you something about R rating today. Khutawat al-Shaitan. In the 1960s, these films would have been rated X. But this is the khutawat. People have become used to the violence and the sex. And so films that would have gotten an X rating in the 1960s are now rated R. And now PG-13 is what used to have an R rating. This is the average time spent watching television, 5.11 hours in the United States, every day. Black Americans, more than 7 hours a day. White, 5. Hispanic, 4.35 because they're out working, right? And then the Asians, 3.14 because their tiger moms won't let them watch TV. 99% of households that possess at least one TV. My wife can testify this. I once got a call by one of these people doing a survey, and he said, how many TVs do you have in the house? And I said, I don't have any. He said, come on. I said, I don't have any. He said, none? I said, I don't have a TV. And then he said, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never, ever had a call where they didn't have a TV. So that was kind of a 2.4 TV sets in the average U.S. household, right? Because some have 5, some have 1 in every room. 56% of Americans who pay for cable TV. 49% say they watch too much TV. Amazing. 34 hours per week over the age of 2 spent in front of a TV. 24 hours per week, 2 to 11 spent watching TV. 54% of 4 to 6-year-olds who, when asked to choose between watching TV and spending time with their fathers, preferred television. Average American youth, 900 hours in school, 1,200 hours watching TV. Right? By the time they get out of high school. It's amazing. And then they wonder why our countries become, we don't, in none of the indices we lead anymore. Right? The U.S. We already saw this, 200,000. 16,000 number of 30-second TV commercials seen in a year. And you know what they call these? Now an important message from our sponsor. Message in Arabic is risala. This is the real reason they want you to buy and consume their goods, because it's a consumer civilization. Cartoons are very serious. This cartoon was done, it's for adults. The man that does this cartoon, literally, he's an atheist, doesn't believe in anything, makes fun of everything, cynicism, everything's a joke. Kids watch this show. It's a very sophisticated show. This is all about ghosts and demons and the occult. The Scooby-Doo has all these occult themes in it. And then here's the father of the family, right? Homer Simpson. And there's his relationship with his kid, right? The level of violence during Saturday morning cartoons is higher than the level of violence during prime time. You've got all these cartoons here now, and your kids are growing up on this crap. And you really have to think seriously, garbage in, garbage out. You have to think seriously about what's being done to your children's minds if you're letting them watch TV. There are 3 to 5 violent acts per hour in prime time versus 20 to 25 acts of violence on Saturday morning. Children imitate what they see. If you put a kung fu film and you put a bunch of 8-year-olds and they watch a kung fu film, by the time the film's done, they're all kicking each other. Right? It's a simple fact of life. Music is another area. 2.5 hours per day for teenagers in the United States listening to music. 2.5 hours per day. And as somebody who grew up in America, coming from a musical family, I have so many lyrics that I wish I could sue the people that took that space of my brain. Because I would much rather have other things in there. So I have lyrics from, I'm not going to age myself, but I have lyrics from, and empty lyrics, So, some of them were interesting, but not very many. One of them was advertising signs convince you to think you're the one that can win what's never been won, that can do what's never been done. Meantime, life goes on outside all around you. So that's a useful little piece of lyric, right? 1 in 3 popular songs now contain explicit references. Khutuwat, you see, songs used to be like, if you go back to the 1960s, the 1940s and 30s, listen to the songs. Don't, but I can tell you, they were innocent lyrics, mostly innocent lyrics. Some of them had subtle things, but people couldn't work them out unless they were sophisticated. But most of them were just simple lyrics, right? Even in the 1950s, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, right? Crying all the time. Came in late last night, about 10:30. That gal of mine wouldn't let me in. Move it on over. Move over a little dog because the big dog's moving in. He's in the dog house, right? I mean, these are the type lyrics they had. Or teach your children well, their parents' hell did slowly go by. Don't ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. Just look at them and sigh and know they love you. That's about parents. Sometimes you get bad parents. Just know that they still love you, even though they're lousy parents. Those are the kind of lyrics. Now, you can't even listen to the lyrics because they're so disgusting. Right? They are so filthy. And Fakhruddin al-Razi, in his commentary, says about the verse in the Quran where Shaitan is threatened that you will try to seduce them with your voice. He says by giving them foul lyrics that their children will memorize and repeat. That's in Mafatih al-Ghaib. That was in the 13th century. So what are we doing now? This is the khutuwat of Shaitan. He's taken people by degrees. America used to be a relatively moral country. It used to have moral values. People used to go to church. They believed in God. They didn't use drugs by and large, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Now you go there and 1 out of every 4 women has a venereal disease they can't get rid of. I'm not making this up. You can see the CDC research on this. Right? HPV virus it's a major problem in the United States, causing cervical cancer, genital warts. These are real problems. And now they're promoting sexual behaviors that are pathogenic. They're promoting pathogenic behaviors that, we in America, you have all these advertising against saturated fats. Like a Big Mac is not going to kill you if you eat 1 of them. It'll do some damage, but it won't kill you. Even if you ate 100 of them. It's going to make you sick, but it's not going to kill you. But 1 time of rectal intercourse can be a death sentence. 1 time. And yet in America, they have all these ads warning people against saturated fats, and there's no ads warning them against deviant sexual behavior. Why is that? Because there are lobbies that say that is hate speech. Why is that? It's not right. You should warn young people that you can get a venereal disease that you'll never get rid of. And as somebody who worked as an RN, I worked 2 years with a gastroenterologist. I saw firsthand the effects of rectal intercourse. And this is why it's prohibited for males on males or males on females. It's haram in our religion. It's not about homosexuality. It's simply about this sickness. Because if you do that, you will get very serious sicknesses. Your sphincter loses its control. One of the things, a miracle of the Prophet, is he said that the people of Lut, they couldn't control their wind in their majalis. It's in the hadith that they used to pass wind because they lose the sphincter is no longer doing its function because they've ruined the function by doing something that was never meant to be done. But they don't teach people this. They say, oh, it's normal, embrace yourself. The number of times an adolescent is exposed to explicit substance references, 35 per hour. They're listening to 2.5 hours a day, 35 per hour, 84 per day, 591 per week, being told about alcohol and drugs in these lyrics. These are the khutuwat of Shaitan. A long way from Puff the Magic Dragon, which they said was a 1950s song that was really about smoking marijuana. Puff the Magic Dragon, live by the sea, right? 30,700 a year. References to drug or alcohol in songs. Pop, 9%. Rock, 14%. Hip-hop, R&B hip-hop, 20%. Country, 36%. Rap, 77%. And we've got all these kids listening to rap. Now, the effects of video gaming. This is one of the big plagues on our civilization. I'm talking about global civilization. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry with massive resources and power now. This is incredibly harmful. It's people die from this. There was a Japanese boy who gamed until he had a heart attack. People die from this. It's true there are only a small number of people that are going to get addicted in that way. But this is what Islam is, a rahmah to people. So it prohibits things that are harmful. Anybody who studied fiqh knows there's a section on bi'. It's prohibited to sell alatul lahu. It's haram to sell games. You can make your own games, like play games, children play games, rocks and stones. Little kids, they don't care what you give them. But to sell things and make money off lahu is prohibited in our sharia. Nobody talks about this anymore. They just think, you can just go and do this and it doesn't matter. This is what's happened to us because shaitan has taken us by steps. So if you look at these things, social isolation, drop in school performance, obesity, people that game are fatter than people that don't, wasting time, which is a great sin in our religion. To waste our time. It's sinful to waste time. Omar said, akrahu an ara ahadukum sabahlala. I hate to see one of you wasting his time. Imma fi dunyahu aw imma fi ukhrahu. Be doing something to benefit your dunya or something to benefit your akhirah. But don't just waste your time of no benefit. And people say, but brother, this is good for dexterity skills. I want to be a surgeon and it actually teaches you eye-hand coordination. It's going to help me. Nice argument. Violent tendencies. We know this. Financial loss, decrease in empathy. You become less empathic. Average age of these players, 35 years old. What are you doing? Seriously, 35 years old is the average. I'll tell you, I'm going to make a confession, all right? This is a confession. And my wife will testify to this. When I first got back to the United States, when I left, there were no computers. When I got back after 10 years being overseas, there were computers. All right? I actually met my wife. She taught me how to use the computer. So that's how I met. So I owe computers to that. But there was a game called Tetris. And I had never done this before. So I started playing it. And it was really interesting. And I was, okay. And I worked it out. And I don't even know how long I played it for. When I finished, I turned away and I was seeing those images come down. I never did it again. And my wife would testify, I don't play any of those games. I've never played any of those games. I am against those games. They're evil games. And I really encourage you just to give them up and utilize your time. Learn a language. Go talk to the Orang Asli about Islam. Go clean up. Get volunteer groups that do litter pickup on your streets. Seriously, go do something useful. Go work out. Keep your body healthy. Go play soccer. Go visit your grandmother. Go to a hospital and visit people that aren't getting people visiting them. Do something useful, but don't waste your time doing this. 49% are 18 to 49-year-olds. 25% less than 18-year-old. 26% are over 50 years old. So this is ammat al-balwa. Look at the physical fight. Gamers, 40% of females have been in a physical fight in America, 51% of males. Look at the non-gamers. 14% as opposed to 28%. And they'll say, but you can't prove any correlation, right? You can't prove it. You don't need a rocket scientist to just know the obvious. It's like the study they did in America to find out why pizzas burn people, the roof of their mouth, and then they found it's because the cheese covers the heat on the tomato sauce, right? After spending a lot of money to work that out. This is the kind of stupidity that, right? Poor grades. Females, almost 40%, 35% of the males, as opposed to 20% and 23%. No relationship, though. No correlation. Can't prove it. Damaged property, 15% of the gamers, 23%. This is people going out and damaging property. In other words, delinquency. 5% of females, 10% of males, which is still high, I think. 89% of top-selling video games contain violent content. Half of it is of a serious nature. Highly criticized video game, Grand Theft Auto, which was actually developed by some criminals. They were real criminals, drug dealers. They came up with this idea. You get points by killing policemen. And then they wonder why all these, violence towards police, right? And then the police react. It's a two-way street in America. If you notice in a lot of these situations, they completely disregard the police. They don't do what they tell them. They say, get on the ground. They don't get on the ground. It's a major problem. And the police use excessive force, especially against African Americans. It's a horrific situation that we have in the United States against poor people. These police forces, and now they're giving them commando equipment. They look like they just got off the desert war, right? They have tanks in small towns in America. Shaitan gets you little by little, step by step. We used to have policemen that didn't carry guns in the United States. England used to have policemen, they didn't carry guns. They called them bobbies. You asked them a question. Right? Now they have Uzis or whatever they're using. They don't use Uzi. I don't know what their gun is, what their weapon of mass destruction of choice is in England. The game grossed $300 million in the United States by the end of 2002. Now we're in the billions. It was banned in Australia. Good for them. Good for the Aussies. Look at this industry. He takes you by steps. I mean, look, you're looking, this is 2008. It was almost $12 billion. It's a lot of power. When you have that kind of money, you can buy judges, you can lobby people, you can do immense things. This is the world that we live in now that's been created. Just watch this scene. This is a game. This is a game that people play. See, don't let your kids
Parents
watch
are going
this.
to buy children games like this. This is real. Kids underage play many games like this because when parents go to buy games, they don't check the age ratings. So this Christmas, when you go to buy a new Xbox game, check the age rating.
Yeah, that's